Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with another episode of Monday Night Raw, otherwise known as Are You Killing Me? And this is the August 9th edition. And I don't know. I don't even know why this show still exists. Orton enters to probably the biggest reaction of the night. Not a big surprise there. He's wearing an RK Bro hoodie. He's in a good mood. And Orton welcomes us to Monday Night Raw. Riddle enters, and Orton's mood changes. Riddle is excited to see his friend, or the person he wants to be friends with. Riddle said, "Randy, I missed you so much." Crowd goes, "Aw," and this is goofy. Anyway, Riddle asked where Orton was all this time. Orton's absence reminded Riddle of his stepfather, who left 25 years ago to get milk and never came back. The crowd doesn't care about that and chant RK Bro instead. Orton wondered why the heck he'd team with Riddle again. Orton said he worked better alone. Riddle sadly asked if that meant they can't team anymore, and Orton isn't interested in this. AJ Styles and almost interrupts. Styles mocks Riddle and pointed out how untrustworthy Orton has been, and always has been. Styles continues to make fun of Riddle for having a broken heart. Orton tells him to shut up. Orton then said he's been home for 7 weeks and he's tired of hearing Styles run his mouth. He said the only thing bigger than Styles' ego was that Almost is bigger, and Styles challenged him to a singles match to prove who runs Raw, and Orton accepts. So years later, and we're still stuck on matches that don't really matter. Anyway, Orton is about to give Styles an RKO and saw it coming and bailed. Orton tries one on Almost, but Almost shoves him off. Riddle then tries the RKO out of nowhere, but Almost counters and slams him. Orton chose not to help Riddle get to his feet. Instead, told him this was a bad idea. SmackDown's Baron Corbin's backstage. Kevin Patrick mentioned something about using the brand-to-brand invitational to challenge Drew McIntyre. Corbin said he needed the money. He said he was basically homeless, but the Jinder Mahal gave him a call and made him an offer. Corbin wasn't looking forward to facing someone who could decapitate him with a sword, but he needed to take the risk. And then he said he's basically... Patrick interviews McIntyre after the break. McIntyre didn't feel sorry for Corbin and spoke about what a bad person he was. Told a story about Corbin beating up a homeless person and taking what little money they had before stealing his dog. If this really happened, then why isn't he in jail? Anyway, Patrick asked about the sword. McIntyre said the sword is named after his late mother, Angela. Angela was told to have a termination when she's pregnant with him, and she refused because she would rather died. She never complained when she had cancer, and somehow transitioned to his anger towards Corbin. He told Corbin karma is, well, unkind. Anyway, match that completely doesn't matter and doesn't need to happen. Drew McIntyre defeats Baron Corbin in 9:47. Why this went this long, nobody knows. McIntyre gives Corbin an overhead suplex to the outside, and we go to break. Corbin comes back, and there's a superplex. McIntyre comes back with a headbutt suplex and a neckbreaker. McIntyre sets up for the Claymore kick, but Corbin begs him not to do it. McIntyre grabs a mic and calls him pathetic. Corbin said, "I know," and McIntyre asked him how much money he needed to get on his feet and to take a shower. Corbin said $100,000, and then hit the Claymore kick for the pinfall. Jinder Mahal, Veer, and Shanky enter on stage. McIntyre grabs the sword, and they back off. So now we're afraid of swords. Anyway, Riddle approached Orton on his scooter. Riddle asks if they can at least be friends, and if he can accompany Orton to ringside. Orton says no, and tells him not to call him bro. NXT champion Karrion Kross defeats Jeff Hardy in a non-title match that absolutely no one cares about. Kross does an inset promo where he said Hardy ruined his debut, and he's planning revenge. Ever since, he's starting an hourglass, and Hardy would fall and pray. Cross is in control. Hardy fights back. Cross yanks him from the top, and we go to a break in 2 minutes into the match. Hardy hit a DDT, and after the break follows an inverted atomic drop and a leg drop and a splash for 2 count. Hardy tries to splash from the second rope for a near fall. Hardy uses jawbreaker and tries to cover, holding the tights, but Cross kicks out. After that, Cross hits a salto suplex and cross jacket for the submission win. After the match, Cross gives another suplex and puts him in the submission second time. Crowd cares about Hardy, but doesn't really care about Cross, and they do chant at him for attacking Hardy post-match. Next match, or NXT tomorrow, follow up on Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez storyline. Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly go face-to-face because we have to talk, and we go into the second hour, and an hour of my life is gone. There's an Arcade Bro video package set to music about friendship. Patrick interviews Riddle backstage. Riddle said that he has to respect Orton's wishes, calls himself a stallion, and rode off into the sunset. This is just goofy. Speaking of goofy, Alexa Bliss defeats Doudrop with Eva Marie in 331. This is completely stupid. Bliss enters with a doll, places it on the top turnbuckle. Match begins, and some people chant, "We want Wyatt." Doudrop is kind of in control, but the match itself is horrible. Camera cuts to a shot of CGI of Lily, who blinks, and Doudrop had to act frightened. Bliss then rose up for the win. Bliss is apparently a babyface in all of this mess. Anyway, Sheamus approaches Miz and John Morrison in the back. Basically, Sheamus said that he'd take care of Ricochet tonight and told Morrison that he'd better take care of Damian Priest or else. U.S. Champion Sheamus defeats Ricochet in a non-title match 10:34. Probably the best match on the show. Decent spot where Ricochet hit the springboard dive, sending them both over the table. This leads to the break. Sheamus regains control after the break and uses the backbreaker. They show a bunch of replays of the dive, and then Sheamus goes to the top, Ricochet jumping Enziguri before bringing him down with a Rana. Ricochet follows with a flying clothesline and a lion salt for a near fall. Ricochet comes back off the top again, but Sheamus appeared to catch him with a headbutt using his metal mask. Sheamus follows up with a brogue kick for a pinfall win. So why don't we continue to kill one of the best athletes we have in Ricochet? Damian Priest enters and gets in Sheamus' face. Sheamus tries a cheap shot, but Priest saw it coming and sends him out. Damian Priest defeats John Morrison with The Miz in 406. Strike exchange, which was fine. They kick each other in the face at the same time. Morrison gets to his feet, wipes out Priest, and hits a dive to the outside. Dives are popular, I guess. Anyway, Morrison tries to hit something off the top, but Priest wipes him out with a spinning heel kick. Then Priest sets up to hit the lights. Miz sprays him with a dripstick. Priest ignores him and goes for the move anyway, so I guess that gimmick is kind of over. After the match, Morrison tries to stop Priest from confronting the Miz. Priest knocks him down and knocks him down anyway. Sprays him with water. Priest gets in Miz's face. Miz uses a wheelchair as a weapon. Priest grabs the mic to address Sheamus. Sheamus enters the stage because he wants to hear what's happening, and they set up a title match for SummerSlam. WWE congratulates himself earlier on reaching 80 million subscribers on YouTube, as if it matters. They also mentioned the video, Reginald leaving the ring has reached 33 million views on TikTok. Yeah, that's because only about 15 seconds of the Reginald gimmick is something people would care about. Mansoor gave Mustafa Ali a new jacket to wear to the ring to make up for last week. Ali stopped him, apologizing before adding, "You'll do better next time." Ali told him to watch him and learn tonight. Then we go to T-Bar with Mace defeating Mustafa Ali in 303 with Mansoor. T-Bar and Mace do an inset promo. Mace said size always matters, which is indicative of the worry of the changes in NXT. Apparently, T-Bar and Mace, T-Bar seems to have things won. Ali has his foot on the bottom rope. Mansoor alerted the referee to this fact. Mace then attacks Mansoor. Ali gives T-Bar a tornado DDT for near fall. T-Bar knocked Ali off the top rope and hits the Feast Your Eyes for the pinfall win. Mason T-Bar going to attack Ali post-match, but Mansoor makes the save and actually clears the ring on his own. Kira Tozawa and R-Truth tries using disguises to attack 24/7. Reginald is here, and we go into the third hour, and 2 hours of my life are gone. WWE congratulates John Cena for the Suicide Squad being the number one in the box office, The Rock and Jungle Cruise being number two. Interesting that the two biggest names in Hollywood were former pro wrestlers, proof that pro wrestling does have a purpose in mainstream society. Anyway, AJ Styles does a quick interview where he said he'd break Orton just like he broke Riddle's scooter. Bobby Lashley and MVP do a promo. MVP rants for a while about Goldberg. And what happened last week, he claimed to have bruised ribs and 2 cracked ribs, and thanks Goldberg for the spear. However, the only thing more devastating Goldberg's spear is Bobby Lashley's spear. Spear versus spear seems like a logical thing to do at SummerSlam. Lashley grabs the mic and basically warns that Goldberg isn't next, he's done. Sarah comes out to ask Rhea Ripley if she's confident in facing Nikki Ash. After seeing her beat Charlotte Flair last week, Ripley gives Nikki credit but almost isn't good enough to remain champion. Ripley said, as a former champion herself, she understands the balance between light and dark. A story that could be good if they actually knew what they were doing with it. Needing to hold on to the title. Does Nikki Ash have a dark side? And obviously this sounds very scripted. After the break, Nikki tells Sarah to go, and that she knew she had to be prepared when things don't go according to plan. Nikki then said she didn't almost beat Charlotte last week, but she did beat Charlotte. She's almost positive that she would beat Ripley tonight and would do what it took to remain champion. SummerSlam. Pictures of Titus O'Neil giving away 30,000 backpacks filled with school supplies. Feeling really bad for the kids who have to go back to school in the pandemic for what seems to be a second in a non-ending year. Anyway, Raw's champion women's champion Nikki Ash defeats Rhea Ripley in a non-title match 9/18. Ended by disqualification. Charlotte pounds Nick and pushes Nikki off the top rope. Charlotte lands on both women and posed with the belt, and that was that. Elias video package. He's outside and walks up to a fire. He remembers our walk with Elias chants, but strung the guitar one last time and chucked it in the fire. WWE stood for walk with Elias, but Elias is dead. Okay, so we're apparently changing his gimmick. Sarah returns asking Charlotte about attacking Nikki and Rhea Ripley. She said she should have been aware that everyone and the attack was coming. She called herself the most decorated woman in WWE history, and everyone can stop and waiting for her downfall. She planned on winning the title at SummerSlam. Then elsewhere, Patrick asks Orton why he's separating himself from Riddle, and Orton says he's better alone, and he prefers it that way. Then we go to the main event. Randy Orton defeating AJ Styles with almost. Styles hits a springboard forearm to the outside. Orton's distracted by almost, and that leads to a break 2 minutes into the match because we don't know how to time things. After the break, Jimmy Smith let us know it's been an incredible match so far. So basically insulting that we have to sit through advertisements nobody cares about anyway. They trade fists until Orton takes advantage of the clotheslines and power slam for near fall. Styles used a kick and works on the leg, but Orton comes back with a back breaker. For near fall, Styles avoids a superplex and applies a calf crusher, but Orton quickly gets the rope break. Styles then sets up for the phenomenal forearm, but Orton rolls out of position. Styles sees that coming, but he isn't quick enough to block Orton's clothesline. Orton follows up with a draping DDT and set up an RKO, but almost pushed Styles out of the way. And Orton and Omos yell at each other, and distraction allows Styles to kick Orton in the head. Riddle then attacks Omos from behind and shoves him into the post. Riddle then tries to put him in a sleeper, but almost drove him into the post. Styles then goes for the phenomenal forearm, but Orton counters and the RKO for the pinfall win. Crowd popped for the finish. Riddle wants to hug Orton. Orton refuses and goes to leave. Riddle brings him back. Orton finally did give him a hug, and the crowd pops. Riddle raised Orton's hand, and then they pose until Orton lays him out with the RKO. Orton smiles and chuckles, and Byron Saxton yelled, "I think they're back together. I think they're back together." Apparently, abusing a friend is a way to show interest in them these days. Anyway, yet another horrible Raw. I can't believe this show's almost been on for 30 years. But anyhow, we'll be back with more right after this.